It's been an interesting change of pace for me on the X timeline. Usually I'm the one logging on to spew my hot takes, getting attacked for it, and ending up with my friends coming out to bat for me despite my sometimes wacky opinions. This time, however, I have been the one donning the white cloak and protecting Milady from the unadulterated rage of people online. And here she is, my fair maiden in question, the innocent Zoomer, who is pissed off at the absolute state of the Western economy.
I know I'm probably just being so dramatic and annoying, but this is my first job, like my first 9-to-5 job after college, and I'm in person, and I'm commuting in the city, and it takes me fucking forever to get there. There's no way I'm gonna be able to afford living in the city right now, so that's off the table. Like, fucking duh! If I was able to walk to work, and it'd be fine, but I'm not. So it literally takes me, like, I leave here, like, I get on the train at 7:30, and I don't get home till, like, 6:15 earliest, and then, like, I don't have time to do anything. I want to shower, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I don't have time or energy to cook my dinner either. Like, I don't have energy to work out. Like, that's out the window. Like, I'm so upset. Oh my god. Nothing to do with my job at all, but just, like, the 9-to-5 schedule in general is crazy. Being in the office 9 to 5, like, if it was remote, you get off at 5, and you're home, and everything's fine. But, like, I'm not home. It takes me long to get home, and, like, people that drive to the office, like, you don't get off at 5, and I know it could be worse, I know I could be working longer, but, like, I literally get off, it's pitch black, like, I don't have energy. How do you have friends? Like, how do you have time to, like, meet, like, a guy? I don't know, like, how do you have time for, like, dating? Like, I don't have time for anything, and I'm, like, so stressed out, and I'm also getting my period, so that's why I'm all emotional, but, like, am I so dramatic? It's fine.
Oh, how the pull yourself up by your bootstraps crowd squawked. You had the usual lines of expensive coffee, avocado toast, and the kids these days becoming communist because they don't know the meaning of hard work, telling her to just get a second, third, and fourth job with no real comprehension of why this Zoomer, just why she might be saying what she is saying. Let's break this down. What are her main complaints here? That housing is too expensive and she can't live near her place of work, that she has no time to get into a relationship or actually have friends, and that the job market is so bad she had to take the first one she was offered without any regard for anything else. Now imagine this girl, instead of just looking like your average 20-something Zoomer, put on her mega cap, made a little TikTok account with the username PatriotGirly2002, and instead of simply ranting about the problems, she was actually telling you exactly why she feels this way. I've got no money because Joe Biden's terrible COVID policies that caused rampant inflation, she says. I can't live in a city because of mass migration, government red tape, corporate meddling, and foreign buyers that drive up the rent prices so high. Because of my hours-long commute, I don't have time to find a husband, and even if I did, I would still have to work rather than be a stay-at-home mom with the kids in order to support our family because the Democrats have destroyed this economy, or the Liberals in Canada. And the cities feel unsafe because of rampant crime due to catch and release policies that Democrats put in place. Every conservative and boomer right now who is dunking on her would instead be singing her praises from the rooftops. How brave, how intelligent, not like most young people out there these days, she's got her head screwed on right. Everything that this girl is saying is exactly what conservatives say, just without their analysis to match it up. I think I might actually go insane if I see one more reply from Sandra or Darren, 62, who constantly rails about the state of the modern world, but then leaps down the throat of any young person who dares to say that their situation is just a little bit shitty, and maybe they want things to change. Once again, just work a second job on top of your full-time job to pay for rent in the city, they'll say. Great. And then when she ends up a single woman at 30 years old with cats because she had no time to date or have a social life, they'll go back and say to her, look how you wasted your life. Feminism has ruined women. There's truly no winning for young girls like this. Just find a husband and go live off him, other conservatives have suggested. When? If she lives at home with her parents searching for Mr. Right, then she's a lazy freeloader, and that's assuming her parents even let her stay in the house past 18. If she's uneducated and has no job, she's also far less likely to date a man who is of high quality. as the most common form of matchmaking is social assortative mating. Educated people are more likely to marry and date other educated people. Ambitious individuals are more likely to date and be with ambitious individuals. Not to mention, even amongst the most traditional of my peers, it is almost always the case that they need two incomes to support themselves. Through no fault of their own, most men cannot support a family on a single income today. This is certainly the case in Canada. I assume it's the case in a lot of places in America as well. There's been a few outlets that have noticed this video for what it really is, such as The Federalist, who published a piece titled "Viral 9-to-5 Video is a plea for a meaningful life, not an excuse for laziness." And a lot of people will say, okay, well, she still has options here, right? She can still move out to a cabin in the middle of nowhere, Lauren. She'll be able to afford rent there. This girl still has an iPhone, so she's pretty darn privileged compared to the rest of human history. But this is taking for granted all of the things that actually matter to humans. Living near family and friends and having a long-lasting community is what makes life worthwhile. An iPhone is not a home or a purpose. In fact, it is the fastest depreciating asset in the world. Well, the Zoomers might be complaining about the way things are, the bootstraps type would say to me, but it's their fault. Their Tide Pod eating and blue hair behavior is what got us into this mess in the first place. They're all gay communists who would throw us into the gulag and take our 5-bedroom houses in a heartbeat. It's their fault that Biden, Trudeau, and every other terrible Western leader has ruined things. You sure about that, bestie? Should they have listened harder when their teachers assigned them Thomas Sowell books and The Wealth of Nations? Or maybe watched more of those PragerU videos that they love to play in modern classrooms? Perhaps they should have engaged with more dissident content that big tech is so well known for promoting into everyone's feed. Are you guys insane? You merely adopted the madness. They were born into it. Molded by it. They didn't see the free markets until they were at university, and by that point, it was nothing to them but blinding. While many are exacerbating it, it is simply not the Zoomers' fault that the world is woke and the economy is crippled. The first federal election I could vote in as one of the youngest millennials was 2015. 1 year prior to that, I was already being taught about the dsvCM gender unicorn at my job. The oldest millennials at the time were only 35, and progressive ideologies of all sorts were already pervasive through our governments, corporations, and media. So I just don't buy that every Zoomer popped out of the womb with multicolored hair and started telling elected officials to go off the gold standard, scratch Orwell from their curriculums, and sell off all their housing to China. Look, I'm not here to go on a total boomer bashing seethe fest. I know some of my audience would love to hear that, but just like knocking the Zoomers, it's not actually productive. And I know I've got some great boomers in my audience, lovely people, many of whom agree with everything I am saying. Every generation throughout history has thought and considered the younger generation than them to be lazier, feckless, not willing to get on with the hard graft, but it's never really been true. It's pointless to debate about work ethic when right now one of the biggest problems in this intergenerational disconnect is the failure to manage expectations. That's the difference between now and the rest of human history. Older generations have made the crucial but understandable mistake of telling their children that they are the most privileged people ever, and that you are so lucky to live the life that you do in the time that you do, which in many ways is true. But when people are hit with the harsh reality of the modern world, it's easy to see how it would send them into a psychotic spiral. Because life isn't easy for anyone, for any generation. Definitely not Zoomers. They've just got their own unique set of problems. This reality of lockdowns, inflation, crime, and cultural decay that has slapped them in their face seems like a complete contradiction for young people to the land of milk and honey that they were promised. Where is all this crime coming from? No one told me in school we implemented catch and release policies. No one told me the government is going to take half my income. Why do I have 86% less purchasing power than the generation telling me I'm just being lazy? Bro, we teach these kids nothing but the idea that it's all kumbaya and the government has got it sorted. They are being lied to from birth. And of course they're surprised. And as we've seen, when they start complaining, they're laughed at by their elders who taught them more about white privilege than supply and demand. So what do? They're not going to just sit there and take it. They're going to look for a solution. And right now, young people are turning to radical ideologies like communism because the people behind those ideologies are actually listening to them. They're telling them, you're right, a lot of things do suck right now, and it isn't entirely your fault either. But of course, they then say it's the wicked capitalists and the evil free market that's stopping you from having a nice house and a family. Well, who do you think these kids are going to believe? The boomer cons who just laugh at them and tell them they're being lazy and don't acknowledge some of the very real situations with housing shortages and inflation that they're facing? Or the communists who are giving them answers to their tangible problems? I know which direction I would go if I was an ordinary kid these days. If you're a boomer watching this video right now, all credit where credit is due. You are probably not a part of the problem. Heck, you are likely to have been fighting against radical commie nonsense much longer than I have. Most importantly, though, you can be part of the solution, like all of us. The next time you see someone who looks like they are about to go off on a Zoomer about just skipping spending time with your friends to afford a house or get a second or third job, let them know that the kids these days aren't all just lazy SJWs with nose piercings, the same way, like you guys, were not all pot-smoking, free-loving hippies. There's a variety. There's some very hardworking Zoomers out there that are very confused, feel very ignored, and were not given the answers by the media and school they were indoctrinated in. Some of these kids really want to make a life for themselves and rebuild. I know a lot of Zoomers. There's some damn hardworking ones out there. They just have not been given any of the tools, or a lot of them, any of the tools or understanding of what's gone wrong and how to fix it. And it's our job to help fill in those blanks where the institutions and the media, and in some cases their parents, have failed them. Like, it's our job to help younger generations. Those who mock and laugh are the ones who lose the argument in the end. Conservatives need to instead affirm and offer up solutions because they do have great ones. Instead of this constant gaslighting campaign trying to convince a generation that has, once again, 86% less purchasing power than boomers, that the economy is going great and they're just not working hard enough. Like, come on, guys, we can do better. I love you, my Zoomer and Boomer friends here, and all the forgotten generations in between. And let's all try to love each other a little more and stop doing this divide and conquer thing between the generations when we know who the real culprits are. We can focus instead on the institutions, the media, and the government. I appreciate you all, and I will see you next time.